How's it going, guys? This is Rio, photographer based in Tokyo. You guys probably know in the world of photography there are a world of filters. Filters are basically items which you basically screw onto your camera lens. Mostly they have some kind of screw installed in them and you basically screw them on. The famous ones are ND filters, which stand for neutral density filters, which cut out lights entering the camera. There are the CPL filters, such that stands for circular polarizing filters, and there are special effects filters such as Starscape, which is meant for like astrophotography, and also like special filters such as close-up macro filters and starburst type of filters. There's like so many of them, and in today's video I'd like to introduce you guys a filter made by Marumi, which is called Alps Punch. Before diving into the deep, I first have to introduce you guys the company Marumi, because probably if you're a professional you've probably heard of it, but majority of people who watch my YouTube videos don't know about this company, so hopefully I'll give you guys a brief description of what they do and stuff like that. So if you're a professional photographer, hopefully you guys know the two top brands filter manufacturers in Japan. And if you ever say K&F Concept, you got it wrong, kid. And if you ever said Earth, sorry, you got it wrong. Earth is an Australian company, K&F Concept is a Chinese company. The two top brands that make filters for the photography space is Kenko Tokinas and Marumi, period. Also there's like Hoya, which is more like gives their sort of like optics to third-party manufacturers, but companies that make filters for their own products is Kenko Tokinas and Marumi. Those are basically the two largest filter manufacturers in Japan. And this time around, there was this there's this declaration of war going on when Kenko Tokinas, in my last video when I talked about the Nostaltone filters, which they tried to replicate that film-like look. Marumi sent this declaration of war against them by introducing two filters aimed at the masses who wanted to get that film-like look. One is Alps Punch and another one is called Natsu Iro Punch filters. And to make this easier for you and me, I'm going to be talking about the Alps Punch in this video, and then my next video we're going to be talking about the Natsu Iro Punch to make my life and your life easier. So the concept between these two filters is that Marumi themselves wanted to make that sort of like, not for work, but more like for leisure kind of filters, for aimed at for people who wanted to sort of like imitate, try to go after that film-like look. And this product in particular is actually a collaboration with a Japanese photographer who specializes in documentary portrait style work named Suzuki Sayaka-san. And in order for this filter to work, what Marumi did was they took two of their sort of like soft focusing type of filters and basically slammed them together to make this filter. And by doing that, they were able to sort of like reduce the resolution of the image quality by attaching this filter onto the camera lens greatly. And by doing that, they also were able to achieve this sort of like bleeding color look, I guess, and also the soft render in their image actually. The main difference between the Alps Punch and the the Natsu Iro Punch is basically the Alps Punch has a sort of like a greenish orangish tint to their sort of like overall image, while the sort of like the Natsu Iro Punch has a more like a bluer tint to it. So I would say initially thinking that the Alps Punch is similar to Nostaltone Orange for Kenko Tokinas, and the Natsu Iro Punch is similar to Nostaltone Blue from Kenko Tokinas, so I guess they're going head to head with that. And the overall construction of this filter, Marumi decorated the filter's side with this iconic symbols just to spread the love. And the filter itself for the Alps Punch has a sort of like deep purple violet, and also it's like made in Japan, and it has a sort of like cute packaging on this sort of like front side of the box itself. I basically shot with the Alps Punch around my neighborhood actually, because I have some time limitations, And here are some of the photos that I shot with. And you guys probably know, like, these screw-in type of filters, no matter what kind of filters you go for, like ND, CPL, these types of filters, any kind of filters, the larger the what I call the diameter of the filter, it gets really expensive. So like 82 mil, 77 mil. I mean, I think this filter goes more for like $100 or so. And I had price constraints, and I found a person who was like selling 52 mil for less than half the price of that, of the retail price actually. And I basically snagged this, and because this, I think I forgot to mention, but this filter is meant for digital, so you basically have to like slap this onto a digital camera on front of your like digital like lens. And because, like I said, this is a 52 mil filter diameter, I actually don't own any digital camera lenses that have a 52 mil diameter. And there are those moments where that happens, and it's a very easy fix. If the filter is larger than the lens that you use, you can basically use these, what you call, this is from a Marumi again. This is sort of like a step up ring basically. So you can basically attach this adapter onto your lens, and then you can basically convert that lens to this diameter. So in my case, you guys probably know I use the 18 to 55 mil from Fujifilm. That one has a diameter of 58. This is, like I said, 52. This is too small. So what I did was, instead of using the 18 to 55 mil, I basically used a lens that I shoot to use my YouTube video, which is a 23 mil f2 Fujifilm X-mount lens, which is freaking long. But I basically used an adapter, actually, 43 mil diameter step up ring from 43 mil to 52 mil. So I basically can put this on top of that lens by using that adapter. And these adapters are really cheap. You can get them for $2, $3, maybe $4 actually. And they do the job really well actually. This filter adapter is also made in Japan, but it was like $2, $3. So yeah, I went a little bit off topic, but that's how I basically mounted this filter onto my lens. And going back onto topic, to make this fair, I basically shot around my neighborhood with the Provia film simulation. Provia, you guys know, is the standard. It's not too saturated, it's not too like soft. At the same time, it's like the standard, so there's not much of a sort of like a great characteristics with Provia, but by using this sort of like film simulation and slapping this filter on, you guys can get sort of like a gist of what it would look like if you ever use this filter. So yeah. Okay, so after shooting and after looking at the images, it's hilarious because where to start? I forgot what I was about to say, but you guys probably know, if you ever use a Fujifilm system, there are Fujicron lenses, especially 23mm f2, 35mm f2, 50mm f2, 80mm, no, 90mm f2. There's like a lot of them. 18mm f2. I guess the majority of them, you guys probably, whoever used it, know that those lenses are really sharp lenses when you attach no filters whatsoever. But when you slap onto this Marumis Alps Punch filters, it looks like every single photo is out of focus. And I guess this is what Marumi was going after, because I said it in the first part of the video that they slapped on two soft focus filters. I don't know how they wielded it, but they basically slapped it together to reduce the overall contrast and the overall resolution of the image. And they really did it well, in my opinion, if this is what they were going after. And if you look at a lot of my images that I shot, like almost none of them are in focus actually. And I thought, oh, you gotta be kidding me, because I thought I had it in focus, but I guess it does the opposite. I guess this filter sort of like, it forces you to go out of focus. Not like perfectly out of focus, but some of the photos are really out of focus. So, but some of the photos might be in focus, but it's not in focus. So this is what they were going after. I guess they succeeded. And obviously this is going to have like, I mean, depending on what your perspective is, you're gonna either like it or hate it. And in my case, when I look at the colors, it does not resemble the Nostaltone orange that I shot from the Kenko Tokinas, that had a significant orange tint to their image. This one, on the other hand, has more soft sort of like focus, and on top of that, it feels in my mind that there's a lot of cyan, blue, and green actually. So I think pushing the Fuji greens to the limits and adding more cyan to it, I guess that's the only thing I can say about my photos that I shot. But if you look at the skies, you know what I'm talking about. The sky's like really blue, and the green's like really not super green, but more like cyanish green, bluish green, I guess. And even the red flowers have some kind of like cyan tint to it, and even the purple flowers have some kind of cyan to it. So this might be a look that you might like or hate. I'm hesitant right now. I'm looking at the photos, and this is another thing that I realized with looking at the photos that I basically shot around my workplace. Actually, I realized that I actually don't like the images coming out, especially when shooting around in the shadowy like area where there's like not much like sunlight. It kind of feels really crushed and muddy in my opinion. But when there's like light, when there's like significant amount of light, I guess it looks really nice in my opinion. I mean, that old vibe maybe. And I also have to mention that there's some kind of like pro mist type of effect going on, especially when you like overexpose your like photos. The highlights are sort of like blooming in my eyes, and especially when you're shooting against the what I call the sun, actually there's going to be flaring going on, and I guess some people might like flaring, ghosting in your photos. I mean, nowadays modern lens technology gotten so good that it's hard to get like what I call those light streaks, glares, and stuff like that going on into your image. But by adding this filter on, because they slammed into like two soft filters together, I guess they were able to achieve this sort of like light streak, not light streak, but more like ghosting flares within the image. So some people might like this, some people might hate it. I don't like this purple kind of. It was sort of like hard for me to describe this filter since there's like nothing like this filter in the industry. I mean, I shot with the Nostaltone blue and orange. I guess the blue was like really powerful. It has a really strong like soft pro mist like effect. While this one has a sort of like a different characteristics. It has more like, it's not sharp at all. It's like just soft throughout the frame, and the colors, like they say on their website, is bleeding through, which I guess it might give a great like sort of like a gradient type of look. And like I said, people might like this, people might hate it. I actually don't like this look. I mean, I think the person who actually did the collaboration said that this filter doesn't have any resolution on the official website, on an official video when I actually last checked. So even the person who actually collaborated said that. So I mean, people might like this look if you're doing some kind of series of photography related to sort of like trying to sort of like convey that sort of like soft mood in your image. It might work actually. And the color wise, I'm actually not that like fond of, unfortunately. And I guess it might be because the cyan looks a little bit too strong in my opinion, and this is just my opinion and your opinions might differ. And at the same time, and as the name suggests, this filter Alps Punch is basically, I guess the Marumi wanted to make a sort of like a atmosphere, a look that replicates the Japanese Alps. And you guys probably don't know that Japan is a mountainous region. We have so many like mountains, Mount Fuji, a lot of hiking trails and stuff like that. And because there's a mountain, there's the valley, and I guess they were trying to replicate the sort of like the overall scene of that, valley area during the summer season actually. And this is what you get when a filter manufacturer tries to replicate that. And yeah, that's basically it on my sort of like overview of this filter. I mean, it's actually interesting to see like filter companies like coming up with these types of filters because they're not probably looking for profit of this, because not many people are gonna purchase this, but it sort of like gives an insight of what these sort of like photography community companies are trying to come up with. They're trying to replicate. They're trying to get onto the bandwagon of film photography and trying to sort of like make a filter that sort of like replicates that sort of moment in the, you know, the photography history. And I guess if it's a look that you're looking for, this is a great like sort of like product. If not, there are a lot of alternatives. You could do it in post. You can use a filter, like I said it in my Nostaltone like video, that Kenko Tokinas also has their version of what a film photography type of camera could provide on a digital camera. So there's like a lot of options available nowadays. And yeah, this video's not sponsored by Marumi, unfortunately, but this is basically the video of the Alps Punch by Marumi, and my next video will be the Natsu Iro Punch, which is probably the complete opposite of this filter. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, I'm happy to reply. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace out.